Today we're talking about ancient grains. So I wanted to get it into one nutritional topic that is quite interesting. So ancient grains and why you should include them into your diet. I want to talk to you about ancient grains because as vegans, we are always interested in finding alternative sources of nutritions, proteins, carbohydrates, and so on to meat and dairy. And in keeping with the ethos of veganism, it's vital that we look into revolutionize our food system in sustainable ways. We can see a lot of overlap between this topic and some of the general aims of veganism to increase our well-being, to reduce the perceived need for meat and dairy, to increase sustainability of our food systems, which is what I'm personally quite passionate about, and to show the world that vegan food can be exciting and varied. So the aim is to give you some get up and go in trying some of these alternatives for yourself and to share some of the awesome things I learned putting this together. However, let me talk a little bit about myself or introduce myself. So my name is Pia Werzinger. I'm a certified vegan nutritionist and a cook. I'm experienced in recipe development, have run one of the first weekly vegan cookery live streams on Twitch, various cooking fundraisers via Facebook and Instagram pre-recorded and live, and held in-person cookery demos also at events such as Vegan Live in London. I'm also the founder of Worthing's first and only vegan food bank, one of only 5 fully vegan food banks in the whole of the UK. Which is specializing in anti-food waste by collaborating with organizations such as FairShare, Olio, Too Good To Go, which you might have heard of. There's a really handy app. We've won multiple awards for our outstanding community work and especially for our flexibility in terms of accommodating those with allergies and intolerances, because obviously it's a fully vegan food bank. We also created a unique distribution model that requires 0 storage facilities. So it's been a very, very interesting journey and all that throughout. So we started in March 2020, so just when COVID hit in the middle of that. I have stepped away from the management of the food bank 2 years ago to relocate to Bristol to join Viva and Viva's food and cookery section, which is called the Vegan Recipe Club, as a marketing specialist, where I now manage all the digital activities, including photography, videography, webpage coordination, content writing, as well as writing articles for plant-based news in the name of Viva. I'm also a very passionate animal activist with years of experience in street outreach. I used to volunteer for Animal Rebellion, which is now called Animal Rising. And I also am a team lead for the Animals Now flagship project Challenge 22, which you might have heard of. Although I don't really do much outreach at the moment because I just entered my 4th month of pregnancy. So I'm taking things a little bit slower these days. And do more of the digital kind of things to spread the word. But that's enough about me. Let's talk a little bit more about ancient grains and why I'm quite passionate about these. Ancient grains are a group of grains that remained mostly unmodified for thousands of years. These grains were the first ever that we domesticated as people, and they are as old as 10,000, so they date up to 10,000 years ago, with some of the grains that have been found all across the world, Egypt, China, in Yunnan. So yeah, those are really, really old grains, which are very, very special in a way that these are open pollinated, which means they vary genetically from generation to generation, which helps fuel biodiversity and helps a stronger farming system. So open pollination produces seeds that are able to adapt better to the environment and to local conditions, which is obviously critical for plant resiliency in face of weather fluctuations and climate change, which we all know it's happening. They're also known as heritage weeds, and they tend to be taller and large and have larger root system than modern weeds. So they seem to be bulkier and a little bit like a Neanderthal, basically. Many of those ancient wheats and grains, they thrive with low levels of fertilizers and irrigation, so they are ideal for organic production and are a really good sustainable choice with a low carbon footprint, because they can be made, they can grow in a lot of different weathers and temperatures. They're already dietary staples in many parts of the world, such as China, India, Africa, the Middle East, and they do become more and more popular in Western countries. So you will see some of them probably in your local supermarkets, and some of them you might already know. I just would like to give you a bit more of a profile of why they're so great. They are less processed, or usually less processed, and pack more vitamins, more minerals, more fiber than any widespread grains like corn, rice, and the modern white wheats. And they also have been linked to various health benefits, such as lower heart disease, better blood sugar control, and obviously improved digestion due to more fiber. So I'm going to introduce 4 of those ancient corns that and grains that I'm quite that I love to work with and cook with, and give you some inspiration of what to do with those. So the first one is Einkorn, which is difficult if you're not German to pronounce. So unlike most of modern and modified cereals, einkorn can prosper in different terrains, especially terrains that are unfriendly to other plants, which makes it a really good superfood that is a survivor in harsher landscapes. So it's really, really good for planting in, in regions like Turkey, Syria, Iraq, where they have been found way back to, as I said before, 10,000 years ago. Actually, you might have heard of Ötzi, the Iceman that lived that they found in, I think it was Switzerland or Austria, in the ice. He was very, very well preserved, and they actually found einkorn in his stomach. So he's been dated back like 5,000 years ago, and he had einkorn in his stomach. So you can see that this has been a really, really long used grain. It's a good protein source. It's really, really high in iron. It's got lots of fiber, thiamine, and other B vitamins. And it also has a antioxidant called lutein, which is really, really good for your immune system.
Can I just check? We're not supposed to have moved on, are we, on a slide? We're still on the first slide.
Oh, it should be einkorn. Can you see the einkorn?
No, it's not moved on.
Oh no. Oh, that's weird, because I can. Oh,
there we go. We've got it now.
Oh, this is so strange.
That's good.
Okay, I might just have to click back and forth here. This way. Yeah, so here we go. There is much lower percentage of nutrient loss during the processing of einkorn, because it's less processed than the modern wheats, and it can be easily substituted for most of the whole wheat flours that we use in recipes, though it might change the texture might change a little bit as a result. So let me see if I can. Okay, did you see the slide change? Did it change?
Yeah, we've got profile now.
Oh, lovely. Good. So a little bit about einkorn. It's nutty. It tastes a little bit malt-like. It's sweet. However, it's not a catch-all alternative for all flours, so it won't work. It's not really, really great for something like a Victoria sponge or something. But it works really, really well in pancakes. So I make pancakes a lot with einkorn flour. They look a little bit darker, but they still taste amazing. And because it has a bit of a nutty feeling with it. They're good in fruit bread, porridge, tortillas, things like muffins that are a little bit more with nuts or with granola in it. Yeah, and it works really well in like comforting dishes like banana bread, for example. The einkorn berries, so the wheat grains themselves, they offer a pleasing crunch when you heat them. So they pop and you can crunch them. You can soak them and simmer them like rice. So they make a really, really nice savory addition to salads as well. right, let's see if we can change the slide. There we go. So the next one is quinoa. I always pronounce this wrong because I always say quinoa, but it's quinoa. It's probably the best known ancient grain. It's a complete protein, which means it boosts all of the 9 essential amino acids, and it's free from gluten. So it's really, really good for people who follow a gluten-free diet. It can be cultivated at altitudes for up to 20,000 feet. It can withstand frost and intense sun, so it's a really, really good superfood that has been around for millennials, and it's easy to grow in different temperatures and definitely up to 20k feet. So it grows up to in the Andes even. There's over 120 different types of quinoa these days. And they look like tiny little beets that are beet-shaped seeds. And once you cook them, they have a little tail that comes out and unfurls. So they look a little bit funny. And they have quite a firm texture and a nutty flavor. They also have been recognized by the United Nations as a super crop because of the health benefits that come with quinoa. They are full of manganese and magnesium alongside phosphorus, folate, and zinc. Phosphorus is a key player in healthy bone formation, and folate obviously helps build cells, so it's vital for neural tube development and growing babies in the uterus. So it's a really, really good one for pregnant women. And manganese is a mineral that is linked to strong bones as well as blood and hormone formation. Again, really, really good in pregnancy as an alternative. So it also provides a higher iron intake, so great for vegan diets because 1 cup of quinoa, I nearly said it wrong again, supplies nearly 3 milligrams of iron. So that's about 34% of your daily intake. So it's really, really good for that. So next one. Whoops. So it's fairly easy to prepare and a really good alternative for white rice or couscous. And they quadruple in size, so they are really, really good to bulk cook. They freeze well as well. And one thing to keep in mind is quinoa should be rinsed or soaked for at least half an hour to remove some of the bitter coating. And then you can literally just cook then 1 cup of grain with 2 cups of water, simmer for 15 minutes, and there you go. Very, very easy and really, really nice in salads. You can make patties with them, and a good swap for rice and couscous. Our next grain is bulgur. Bulgur has a very interesting history. So it has some biblical references that indicate it was prepared in ancient Babylonians and Hebrew population about 4,000 years ago. So again, a very, very old grain. Bulgur comes from cracked whole grain kernels of wheat that get parboiled, so partially boiled and dried before packaging, which makes it a really, really easy and quick cook. So most of those grains can be cooked quite quickly. So it's, again, a really, really good alternative to something like rice, especially brown rice, which might take like 40 minutes to cook. When cooked, it has a chewy consistency similar to couscous or quinoa, and the flavor is more earthy and nutty. So a little bit like quinoa, but a little bit more earthy. It's considered a whole grain, so that means the entire wheat kernel is eaten, and that obviously gives you all the benefits that the plant has. So it's one of the main main health plants. Bulgur contains a variety of vitamins and minerals, as well as a good amount of fiber and protein. In fact, about a 90-gram cup of bulgur provides about 30% of your daily value for fiber. So it's really, really good for digestion. Again, really, really big on manganese, magnesium, and iron, and is slightly lower in calories than similar whole grains such as quinoa. So if you want to make a little bit of a lighter choice, bulgur is that right choice. Yeah. Cooking bulgur, again, very straightforward. It's just about getting the proportions right. Depending on what kind of type of grain of bulgur you have, it's best to start with 1 cup of medium bulgur and 1.5 cups of cold water. Boil that for up to, between 10 and 15 minutes, and you're done. So very, very quick. It's really, really good to eat in stuffed peppers, Buddha bowls, tabbouleh, and it's used as a meat substitute. So you can actually use that instead of beef or pork mince. So in a lot of the Lebanese recipes, it's used as a meat substitute. You can, and you can also simmer it in milk for a base as porridge or pudding. So it can be eaten sweet and savory, which is quite nice. All right, the next one is amaranth, which is, again, an ancient grain that that has been used originally by Aztecs. So it's gluten-free, it's wheat-free, and it's a good source of vitamin C, which is quite special for a grain. One of the earliest known plants was also cultivated by the Incas, and it was called mother of all grains by the Incas and considered sacred. It comes in 60 different species nowadays and has been cultivated for about 8,000 years. The plant itself produces multiple seed heads, which can yield up to 5,000 seeds. So it's very, very efficient as a plant. And it's a distant relative, which is a bit strange, to Swiss chard and spinach, although it doesn't taste at all like that. It's highly nutritious and offers a complete form of vegetable protein. Again, has all of the 9 amino acids, so it's really, really good as a whole protein. Big on iron, which is great for healthy blood cell formation, and also is supposed to help a healthy sleep. So really good before bed. Profile. So traditionally, it's eaten as a breakfast porridge. So you can get amaranth in, again, different variations. So you can get it as a puffed seed, which is which is basically a puffed grain, which is often used as a breakfast porridge or in cereal, which can also be added to soup, salads, stir fries. And obviously it comes as a flour, which is a really, really good alternative, a gluten-free alternative in baking. You can mix amaranth flour with other flours to use as a mix in bread, muffins, and pancakes. And it also functions very well as a gluten-free thickener for soups and sauces. A few other grains that I would like to mention as well is fricassee. So getting fricassee with fricassee is very, very good for your digestion as well as for your health. It is quite filling, so it can serve as a main ingredient rather than a side dish. The grain keeps its texture after cooking with a lot of flavor, so it smells a little bit funny when it cooks, to be fair, I must say, but it tastes wonderfully nutty once it's cooked. And if you're not following a gluten-free diet, because that grain actually has gluten in it, it's quite a good swap for quinoa in a lot of dishes. Millet grains are high in carbohydrates, have a high protein content, and they're somewhat strong in taste, but mainly consumed in flatbreads, porridges, and prepared. You can prepare them pretty much like rice, so they go well as a side dish. Teff is usually not eaten on its own, but consumed with a variety of predominantly vegan Ethiopian dishes. So it comes from the African continent. It's really, really good with an excellent amino acid composition. So it has all 9 amino acids. It's got really good lysine levels and is, so it's better than wheat or barley in terms of the amino acids and the lysine levels. Barley grows in wild regions of Western Asia and Northeast Africa. It's widely cultivated for human and animal food, and often also used in beer and whiskey production, as well as in barley drinks. So it's used for food and drink. And with approximately 150 million tons produced annually, it's actually the fourth most produced grain worldwide after corn, rice, and wheat. So it's very, very easily available and in a lot of added to a lot of food already. One thing to mention is that whole barley is considered a whole grain. So again, it's only the inedible outer shell that is removed and the rest stays. So you've got all the nutritional benefits from that. However, pearl barley, for example, is not a whole grain because the fiber containing bran has been removed. So it's not as effective as whole one. So if you see it, go for whole one. Okay, and last but not least, why it's time to move away from the white flour or to ancient grains. Obviously, weight gain and obesity endemics have a correlation to refined flours and grains. So ancient grains do actually benefit a healthy digestion with their fiber content and can support the weight loss and obviously maintaining your weight. A growing awareness of gluten intolerance. Most of those ancient grains are gluten-free, so they are just automatically better for people with intolerances or allergies. Refined carbohydrates have a negative impact on insulin resistance, so again, diabetes and so on. They will help with your sugar levels, keep them stabilized throughout the day. It's a great way to wow friends and dinner guests. So it's definitely a topic that you can speak about, especially if you research about how, where you can find them and how long they've been around. And it motivates creativity in the kitchen and reimagines your shopping basket, because obviously you can try out loads of new things with those ancient grains. And last but not least, the world is full of gorgeous, colorful, and flavorful alternatives. So, why not try an ancient grain? That's it from my side. So thank you very much. And yeah, any questions, please shout.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Wow, what food for thought. Does anyone have any questions? Shall we stop sharing for a second and then I'll put the screen back up?
Yeah.
Let's run spotlight so we can see everybody. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions? Or I know I was certainly interested around all of those different ones. I hadn't ever heard of teff before, which is something I'd just not. But interesting that that's got all the 9 amino acids in, because that's something that I find people always challenge about. You can't get them without meat. So it's really interesting to hear that there were multiple grains there that provide that. Anyone else, or I'm going to pile in with some questions? Hands up, Catherine?
I do. Oh, yeah, I was really impressed with the amaranth. I knew, they always associate that with like Jesus. Amazingly enough, I don't know, it's always like a Jesus grain, but I don't have that religious connection. But I think it's interesting that it's been around that long since Jesus, you said it was a sacred grain, and the complete protein side of it, I think I've only tried it once or twice. I eat gluten-free unless I don't read a label. Like yesterday, I was like, oh, I realized I ate this macaroni and cheese, and I'm like, I really don't like that pasta very much. And then I was looking at the store to buy another one. I'm like, oh, so that's very unusual. But yeah, this was really interesting. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Margaret, did you have a question? Yep.
It's not so much a question. You were referring to the teff. Because teff is amazing. Like the way you make it, it's almost like you can have like porridge like every morning. Like, do you know what I mean? That's an alternative. It's just like literally just literally stirring, boil water, put a little bit of cinnamon and stuff like that, and just like consistently just stir it, make it like porridge, and you can see the texture changes when it comes up. and it's just amazing. It tastes really nice. And then you could just put like strawberries, blueberries and stuff on top of it. It tastes nice. And you also can have coconut oil, coconut milk, and what is it called? Or just normal regular milk, and just like having normal porridge is absolutely amazing. And also there's this thing that the Ethiopians they do with it. It's like a flat bread. I don't know, it's called injera. You can Google it. Like Ethiopian bread, it comes up, it's flat. And they use their hands and stuff. They have all these different vegan sauce and they use their hands to eat it. So teff is amazing. And apparently it's meant to be the smallest grain there is.
As big as a
Like
poppy seed, I think. Yeah.
yeah, it's meant to be the smallest grain. So it's just amazing. I've tried it a few times. And I think a few days ago I had it for breakfast. And just, yeah, that's a good one. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you. Thanks.
Amazing. So where would you source these unusual ones? Because I know like bulgur, quinoa, amaranth you can kind of get in supermarkets and that kind of thing, but would you have to go to a specific shop for something like teff?
So my top tip is try your World Food Store. So if you have a World Food Store somewhere around, they usually have those kind of like special grains, and they have different legumes and so on. Otherwise, in worst case, you can look online, so you can order them obviously all online. They're all available throughout. But yeah, World Food Store or sometimes Lebanese run stores, they have them because they import them for the community anyway. Yeah, sometimes Indian or Pakistani stores here in the UK are often very varied with what they offer, so they have grains like that. So yeah, World Food Stores for sure.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I'll certainly look out for that. So Kim, did you have a
Yeah, just small question that you introduced so many good grains, and I just a little bit curious that with which one is your personal favorite? And for me, as in Korea, I heard of quinoa, but other things I've never heard of. So, what do you think? Which one is most popular around here?
So I can only speak for Europe or the UK. So I think bulgur is definitely one of the most available ones and most popular ones. Personally, my favorite is amaranth. And it's because my mother used to work as an homeopathic assistant. So when I was little, I can remember every morning she gave me a spoonful of puffed amaranth. So I used to have it from like really small age onwards, and I just made this connection of like, oh, this is so healthy. And she made it in a really she made this like connection really, really lovely for me and really positive. So for me, amaranth has always been like, oh, this is like she called it Inca popcorn because it's basically like little popcorn. So yeah, so that's probably always been my favorite. I must admit, I haven't eaten it in quite a while now, but yeah, it's definitely my favorite.
A question. Do you find that people, like, for me, quinoa, like I knew it was so good for me, but I'm like a child, I can't eat things that are just good for me and they taste like dirt. And with quinoa, like I saute like shallots, and I use vegetable broth and white wine.
Yes.
And I find it's absolutely delicious. And I put like this mushroom stroganoff over it, and it's wonderful. But it really took me a couple of times, and I use that chicken that it's not chicken, it's better than bouillon, not chicken. And I put that in there, and it's like really delicious, and I torture my non-vegan friends with it. So
nice. Yeah, quinoa is actually, I always add a spoon of stock powder in while I boil it. So while it boils down, just to give it a little bit more, depth. But it does work quite well again as like some sort of porridge. So if you can boil it down with coconut milk, for example, or almond milk, and then add a little bit of cinnamon and some nuts and so on. So it changes the flavor profile and makes it more nuttier and a little bit more porridgey, but with more exciting consistency, so to say. So yeah, it's just experimenting what suits your palate.
Yeah, I wondered if you had yeah, I'm not a porridge girl at
Okay.
all. So yeah. No porridge, oatmeal, oat bran, I'm not a breakfast girl because I could never
Okay.
eat gluten. I was very gluten-free as a child, so
Yeah.
I'm not a breakfast person at all, cereal wise.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but
So yeah,
that's what I'm getting used to.
if you don't like the grain, the best thing is to find a stock, either way, a mushroom stock or a vegetable stock or anything like that, and boil it in that stock, and then pair it with like a strong sauce, like you said, with the stroganoff. That I would do the same. Yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you.
So I'm interested in we said about flours made from it. Does that impact like the composition because of, you know, if you're grinding it down? And so that's one question. And then the extra question to go with that one is, again, would you buy that bagged, or would you kind of get the grain and then kind of create that yourself by blending or something like that?
Yeah, I would get the flour because those flours are quite widely available, and then they make sure that really the nutritional value is still in there, because there's obviously different grinding processes. When it comes to legumes, I would probably say you can grind them yourself, but when it comes to grains, I would just buy the flour, and you can be sure that, you know, you buy the ones with the right nutritional values, because you can see it on the pack. And yeah, the flour itself obviously can keep the whole nutritional values. It's basically just it's a bit like wholemeal flour, which, you know, the whole meal is still in there. The only thing is some of the flours, because they are gluten-free flours, so they will behave a little bit different, so the texture might come out a bit different. And some of the flours might not hold together as well, so you might have to still mix them with some like modern flour or wholemeal flour, but you can still make your meal more healthy by doing half, if that makes sense.
Excellent. Anyone else got any questions? I'm going to jump in with another one. Just thinking about kind of the patty side of things, the kind of non-meat creation. Again, would you mix? Is there one in particular that you would suggest is a good use, possibly with something like mushrooms or something? And then would you mix it like a mixture of the flour and the grain, or would you just go for the grain?
You can use the grain. So bulgur again is very common for this. There is some ready, so again, your World Food Store is probably the best friend there, because there's some ready-made ones, but you can make patties pretty much out of all grains. You just need something like either way an egg replacer, or something like flaxseed or chia seed that just thickens the whole kind of thing. But apart from, you can use the whole grain. And yeah, so that works. And bulgur is probably the best one too, because it's traditionally used as a meat replacement or like a beef replacement.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, I've got a question. Sorry, just a quick one. Pam, do you think you know, you congratulations, you're pregnant.
Thank you.
For that. I wanted to ask you, is your diet, like, have you changed it in any way to eat more of something else, or to eat less of something else? Do you know what I mean? Like for the baby's growth and everything else. Do you find that you're just still the same? Have you done anything differently in regards to your diet?
I try to have, so my partner is making loads of smoothies for me, because I'm not really good at eating fruit. So he's making me loads of smoothies just to top up that kind of like fruit side. I'm a vegetable girl, so I love my vegetables, and I eat quite a lot of vegetables. We do eat a lot of whole grains. So our diet is fairly balanced. So the only thing that I've added to my diet is more smoothies. So I try to have a smoothie a day, a homemade one, and I obviously take pregnancy vitamins because of the added folate that I need, and the vitamin D I need.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, that's good. That's brilliant. Thanks for answering that question. Thanks.
No worries.
Excellent. Do we have any more? Any more questions? I mean, someone traveling like you, Kristen, how do you find trying to eat these healthier grains and things? Do you find they're kind of available worldwide, or? Oh, we're struggling with your mic again.
Yeah.
What a shame.
Technical stuff.
Oh no, it's given up. Pop it in the chat. Oh, sorry about that. Never mind. You can never trust the tech, can you? Zoom have probably been playing with their old algorithms and things, adding new bits. Any other questions while we're on grains, or any other nutritional questions? Because I'm sure while we've got the expert in the room, now's the time to talk about it. I think for me, probably, again, I do a lot of outreach, just the same as you, and with Viva and everything, is encouraging other people, because there's this real thing of, you know, the plant-based meats and everything being unhealthy, which actually there's proven evidence that they're no worse, and, you know, even some evidence that even so they might still be even better, even though they're not as healthy as sort of grains and things. But having kind of really simple ideas or recipes, because I think people can be scared of grains, particularly. I know I'm really bad with brown rice, so I love brown rice, but I either overcook it, or I don't cook it enough, or it sticks together, or, you know, and I just cannot get it exactly right. So then I end up shying away from it, or buying these horrible bags that you shouldn't buy because they're really bad for the environment and that kind of thing. You know, bags of the boiling the like the microwave ones or something like that, just because it's a nice texture. So yeah, I mean, if you've got any tips around how we encourage other people to kind of get over that, because I think if I'm like 8 years vegan, and if I can't get over that myself, like, we need to encourage other people, new vegans, to be able to get over that.
Yeah, I understand. So yeah, rice is a tricky one, and it took me ages. It took me a travel to Asia actually to find out how to properly cook it. So it was yeah. So I understand it can be really tricky, but even more so than those grains, especially those grains like barley and bulgur, which are quite easy, and they are pre-cooked and then dried, so they don't take as long to cook. There's a great cookbook called the Veganomicon. So I think it's actually an American cookbook, but it's available on Amazon and worldwide. And this has been my Bible. So it's literally called the Vegan Bible, and it has all the different kind of grains in there, and it will tell you exactly how much water you need, how much grain you need, and how long the cooking time is. And it's been, yeah, a lifesaver. So I would recommend getting that as a start, and then just trying out the different grains. Again, it depends really what is palatable for you, what excites you. Quinoa is one of the ones that are quite readily available. It's something that most people quite enjoy, so I would start with something like that, and it's a little bit of a more exciting texture. Yeah, and then just work your way through. But yeah, as long as you get the consistencies right, obviously you can Google it and get like lists and stuff on Google as well. So ideally, you basically just need to make sure you get the right levels, and most of them are quite easy to cook.
Brilliant. Well, that sounds great, and I think I'm definitely going to have to get that book for my outreach to encourage people, and maybe to take some ideas from there for people as well. Because particularly when you're talking to kind of athletes and health conscious people, they don't want necessarily the swaps thing, but they want,
yes,
to be able to enhance themselves as well. And I don't come from that kind of enhance myself background. I come from the animal compassion background. So give me the junk food.
Yeah.
So when talking to people, trying to get across that health side can be quite tricky. Although it is very easy to prove that you're not protein deficient.
No, definitely not. As you saw, most of the grains have protein in it. Most legumes have protein in it, and in a Western diet, I think most people have actually too much protein. So I think, yeah, that's definitely not an issue anymore.
Brilliant. Okay, are there any other quick questions before we finish up.
Is that cookbook Isa Moskowitz?
Yes.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love her cookbooks. Yeah, I
She's
have
great.
her
Yeah.
one of her cookbooks that I bought at like a used bookstore, and I realized that I had it and I had read one of her other ones. She's really amazing and makes it easy. I make her beef stroganoff or mushroom stroganoff
Yeah.
recipe. Yeah, that tastes like beef. It's really good with mushrooms. I don't use the tofu in it, but and I don't use the cashew cream. I found this other cream that I don't have to do the cashew thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, lovely. Yeah, yeah. It's a great book, so I can only recommend it. It's great for,
yes.
especially if you're just starting off being, with a vegan diet and with vegan cooking. It's got great recipes. Obviously, if you're gluten-free, that won't help with seitan, but it has like making meat from scratch and so on. So it's a really good book. Yeah.
People love her. Like I posted it on one of the vegan websites. Like I took a picture of it and took the recipe, and people were like, we love her. Like everybody said it's, they had her cookbooks. So yeah, highly recommend her stuff. So thank you. Yeah, lentils are another, I guess you consider those like legumes though, right?
Yeah.
They're not
Yeah.
green, but they're good on the protein too. And I didn't like any of those things particularly. It took like working it to make it work, literally.
Yeah. Trial and error in a lot of those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
for sure. A lot of wine. Yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah, a lot of wine. I'm not sure that helps with the health benefits, but we'll go. It makes you feel better if nothing else after a stressful day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Love it. So we'll make sure to try and put a link to the book as well, and to any other resources or pages that you think would be useful as well, Pia, if that's okay, if you want to share anything. We can put a link when we put this recording out on the groups as well. So just want to say thank you ever so much for that fabulous presentation and for answering all our questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we hope you can come back again and tell us more.